It's easy to see why Vietnam is one of Southeast Asia's most sought-after travel destinations. The last future is what we'll concentrate on today. It offers wonderful food, is reasonably priced, and is home to some of the most beautiful scenery you'll ever see in Asia. It would definitely be challenging to visit all of the country's tourism attractions and stunning sceneries for this purpose. That's why we're here to assist you in locating the top tourist destinations in Vietnam for first-timers like yourself. Welcome to Travel Moji, your exclusive boarding pass to access the world. Sounds like your cup of tea? Keep watching to see more of what Vietnam has to offer. Number 10. Sapa. One of our favorite destinations in Vietnam is Sapa. You can wander around the area in the cool highland breeze among the stunning mountains and hills with the rice terraces. The Black Hmong minority also calls Sapa home, and you'll immediately notice them as soon as your bus pulls into the city. You may feel overwhelmed by the number of people trying to sell you items in Sapa because it's a popular destination for visitors to hang out. And for the Hmong minority, that's an opportunity to make money. But don't let that stop you from going to Sapa because it has a lot to offer, including a one-of-a-kind experience like sleeping in a homestay with locals in the mountains, hiking through the rice paddies, and riding a motorcycle through Sapa's hills. That is why it's wholeheartedly advisable for everyone who visits there to rent a motorcycle, set off, and leisurely explore Sapa's breathtaking scenery if you want to do the trip some justice. During the trip, you'll see several rice fields that stretch as far as the eye can see, magnificent mountain villages, and friendly locals who will be delighted that you're visiting their outlying communities. Number 9. Ha Long Bay. It would be a shame to travel all the way to Vietnam and miss out on visiting Ha Long Bay, which is without a doubt one of the country's most well-known and popular tourist attractions. As you sail around Ha Long Bay, stopping at isolated beaches and villages along the way, you'll find yourself in this magnificent environment that is filled with hundreds of sandstone mountains that spread out into the water. It is one of Vietnam's most picturesque locations, and it is unquestionably worth the trip from Hanoi. With that stated, if you want a more immersive experience in Ha Long Bay, we would advise you to avoid party boats and look for a more nature-centric tour. Depending on the length and caliber of your encounter, you may reserve your very own private boat or join a group that may cost you between $50 to $150 USD. But you should watch out when it comes to the awful tours out there. We advise you to thoroughly research and check the reviews when it comes to picking tours. Either way, at Ha Long Bay, you will ultimately receive exactly what you paid for if you did your research. Number 8. Hanoi. One of the nicest things to do in the city of Hanoi is to get outside and sample all the delectable street food out there. Just like everybody says, you truly get to know a country when you've tried and tasted its street food. The perfect place to do that is the one and only Hanoi. Hanoi is the bustling capital city of Vietnam. It's a place where motorbikes weave through the roadways like uncontrollable water flowing in a river. Then, Tran Quoc Pagoda, the city's oldest Buddhist temple and another excellent site to stroll about in the evening, is one of Hanoi's top tourist attractions. You can also stop by and marvel at the magnificent presidential palace and the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum at the same location. As you can see, Hanoi has a lot to offer, and it is the best spot in Vietnam to be if you want to experience the vibrant city and the youthful energy of the Vietnamese people. Number 7. Ninh Bình. Another wonderful destination that you may not have heard of is Ninh Bình, a little town that is only an hour away from Hanoi. The city itself is not particularly noteworthy, but Ninh Bình is worth a visit because of the abundance of gorgeous natural areas nearby that you may explore. You may get a good view of how magnificent the area around Ninh Bình is at places like Hang Mua Cave viewpoint. In this location, you must ascend 500 stone steps to reach the viewpoint, where you will be able to see the spectacular limestone mountains encircled by rice paddies and the Tam Kok River meandering through them. Also, you may rent a boat to get a close-up look at the Tam Kok River and some of the most beautiful mountain temples in the area, like the Bishdong Pagoda, which is an old tired pagoda tucked into the mountainside. Overall, Ninh Bình is a fantastic destination to visit if you enjoy the outdoors. It is an excellent side trip because it is not too far away from Hoi An. It also provides a wonderful opportunity to get away from the busy capital city and spend time in nature. Rent a scooter to get the most out of your time in Ninh Bình and ride through the nearby rice fields. We promise you will sure adore it. Number 6. Phong Nha. Visit Phong Nha, the location of the Son Doong Cave, the largest cave in the world if you're searching for a little adventure in Vietnam's cave region, which has been rapidly gaining popularity. Phong Nha is most likely one of the few locations in Vietnam that is still regarded as off the beaten path. And for good reason too. There are only sandstone mountains and rice paddies surrounding this extremely remote area. Some of the most stunning natural caverns in the world are concealed in plain sight beneath these sandstone mountains. Some people have claimed that Son Doong Cave is so large that it has its own climate system, but booking an expedition costs more than $3,000. So if you're on a tight budget, you might want to skip this place. Getting there is also expensive. Fortunately, Phong Nha is home to a number of other caverns and caves worth seeing, such as the spectacular Paradise Cave, which is filled with amazing stalactites and rock formations. Number 5. My Son Sanctuary. My Son Sanctuary, a remote ancient ruin that dates from the 4th to the 13th centuries. It is about an hour drive from Hoi An, and you can visit the isolated ruin as part of a day trip or through a tour company that runs out of the old town. The My Son Sanctuary is a fantastic illustration of the Champa Kingdom's skilled craftsmanship from the 4th century, when it ruled the region of Vietnam. Hindu in origin, the temples and towers at My Son are similar to the ancient ruins that can be seen all around Thailand and Cambodia, including the renowned Angkor Wat in Siem Reap. Visit My Son Sanctuary if you have an interest in history and are looking for something to do in Hoi An for the day. It would be a shame if you travel all the way to Hoi An and fail to witness this old ruin with your own eyes, because it is one of the few locations in Vietnam where you will find this kind of ruin. Number 4. Hoi An. One of Vietnam's most picturesque cities is Hoi An. The exquisite fusion of local and foreign influences on the historic town's architecture draws many visitors from all over the world each year. It is an ancient port town that was formerly a significant Southeast Asian commercial port between the 15th and 19th centuries. Even though it might get congested at times, especially at night near the river, Hoi An is just too stunning to pass up. The best food in Vietnam, including the khao lao, the nation's signature noodle dish, Vietnamese dumplings, and banh mi, a Vietnamese baguette sandwich, can be enjoyed during a leisured lunch break at one of the town's many restaurants. You can also spend the morning exploring the ancient town's winding streets, interacting with locals and vendors, and then stopping by the Japanese bridge known as Khao Pagoda. Number 3. Mekong Delta. The Mekong River is the 13th longest river in the world. Travels from the Tibetan Plateau through 6 nations: China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and finally Vietnam before coming to rest in the Mekong Delta. A labyrinth of waterways, the Mekong Delta is teeming with life, from stunning mangrove trees to lush paddy fields. Several cities and villages in the region depend on the Mekong River's abundant resources for their existence. And though one of the most populated cities in the region, is an excellent location to see firsthand how the residents modified their way of life to fit the floodplain. The Mekong Delta, which is surrounded by rivers, wildlife, and floating marketplaces, is best experienced by boat, and you can do so right from Ho Chi Minh City with a guided tour that also includes a night in condo. Number 2. Cu Chi Tunnel. The Cu Chi Tunnel, a network of historic linking tunnels from the Vietnam War that was utilized by the Viet Cong to drive the U.S. forces out of the nation, is about 2 hours from Ho Chi Minh City. There are numerous connecting tunnels that travelers can visit, and from Ho Chi Minh City, there are frequently day trips and guided tours available. Before you have the chance to descend these incredibly humid and small tunnels, you will learn more about the Vietnam War and the guerrilla strategy employed by the Viet Cong, as well as the numerous attempts and military instruments they used. To be on the safe side, we advise against visiting the tunnels if you are claustrophobic due to their extreme smallness. A lot of visitors there who didn't know how cramped the tunnels is are reported to have passed out after entering for a couple of minutes. That's why it is unimaginable that the Viet Cong soldiers had to spend months at a time in these tiny tunnels. It makes sense to visit the Cu Chi tunnels if you're interested in learning more about Vietnamese history and the Vietnam War. Number 1. Ho Chi Minh City. The modern metropolis of Ho Chi Minh City is rich in culture and tourist destinations. It's a terrific site to begin your trip to Vietnam and get a sense of what it's like there. There are traffic jams, a vibrant nightlife, and a ton of things to do in the city itself. Just like in any other big city in Southeast Asia, the Vietnam War Museum is also located there, and a visit there is highly suggested. Although the information in the Vietnam War Museum is extremely depressing and some of the images are extremely graphic, it is necessary to learn about the country's dark past in order to understand Vietnam's as a whole and where its people are coming from. And there is no better place to do this than in Ho Chi Minh City. The Saigon Central Post Office and the Notre Dame Cathedral of Saigon are 2 magnificent examples of colonial-era architecture in Ho Chi Minh City that should give you some idea of how much the city was influenced by outside forces. Also, there is a ton of street food along Phang Nu Lao Street, the main tourist area where you can sample all the delectable Vietnamese fare, including the banh mi sandwich with French influences and a people's favorite Vietnamese coffee. Ho Chi Minh City is a large, bustling city, but it has a lot to offer visitors for the first time because it is most tourist-friendly than Hanoi, the capital. Make sure you begin your trip in Ho Chi Minh City if you intend to visit Vietnam.